Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Well, during the process of actually recording this, some amazing things have happened, and I just want to say thank you to everyone that is now a subscriber. We've grown over the last 2 or 3 days way more than I could ever imagined. And it's kind of neat, kind of how this worked out. And I stick around for a minute because explain why I'm making this video. I got to thinking about, where I got inspired to just hit record and just start putting out some videos. Wasn't great at it. You can go back and look at some of my, you can look at some of the ones I'm doing now, but look at some of my first videos. They're horrible. But somebody always said that, hit record and just try to make each video, do something better than the last one. So that's kind of what I've been trying to do. So, few people that have inspired me to do certain things. Obviously, Cam over at Blacktail Studios, because I love epoxy. I love epoxy tables. But the person who actually inspired me to actually hit record and start making videos. I've been doing woodworking for probably 5 or 6 years, a little bit, not a long time, but just piddling around. But that person is Matt over at 731 Woodworks. Been following his channel for a while, watching his channel grow. Just an inspiration all the way around. And we have a similar background. His obviously is law enforcement. I'm a paramedic. Mine's been in public safety as well. So kind of cool. Maybe that's what gave me the inspiration. But in any case, I support his channel as well. I'm a subscriber. I'm also part of his 2Before Nation. I know some of you have come over from that channel as well, so you know what I'm talking about. So I've had some questions again about some of my multicolored signs that I do with epoxy. This one's a little different. I did a video. I'll link the description to it if you want to see a totally epoxy sign that is completely done with epoxy and multicolor. But this one, if you have been on his channel, you'll recognize this. I actually made this, reached out to Matt, super nice guy, got him to send me the logo. So he's aware this is actually, at the time this is released, should be either at his house or on its way to his house. But I made this as a gift to him, and also go over, kind of how I do this. So in any case, I hope you enjoy this video. By all means, put a comment below if you've got any questions. Hit that like button and please subscribe if you're not already. We're growing and I'm looking forward to it. Got some giveaways coming up and some pretty interesting stuff. So anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble up to this point. I appreciate it, and let's get started. Okay, so I did ramble on just a bit there. I apologize, and you're going to see me walking around in the background. So basically what I'm doing here, I've got a large cutting board order, about 400 of them. You see them stacked up in the background. I'm using a Jenny 60-degree V-bit. I'll leave a link and everything that I use in the description. Some are affiliates, some are not. But basically for the letters and the saw blade and the lines, I'm using a V-carve toolpath. Actually works really good in this this aspect. I do a little bit different than some people that I've seen. I actually run the V-carve first before I run the clearing path, which you'll see with the downcut bit here in just a minute. It actually tends to do a little bit better. It leaves you basically some meat, so to speak, on the wood. So as that V-carve and V-bit is going here, it's actually got some wood to push up against. If you run your pocket toolpath first, a lot of times you have weaker areas that wind up breaking off. So this is actually a better way to do it, in my opinion. It's worked well for me. There you go. I'm running the clearance toolpath with a larger 1/4 inch downcut bit from This one's actually from Andy Bird's Builds. Thanks, Andy, for sending this over. I wore out the last one. I used it so much. So great bits. Gotten some good use out of them. So anyway, this is going to clear all this out, and you kind of see the finished product here, or sort of the finished product, the start of it. We're going to go ahead and mix up our epoxy. I order these little cups off of Amazon, pretty cheap. I'll leave a link in the description. I like them because they've got the ratios on the side. You're going to see me using eye candy. I pretty much use exclusively eye candy pigments, as well as super clear epoxy. So the way I do these signs, I cut my depth to a 1/4 inch or so. So I always use tabletop epoxy. You can pour super clear's tabletop epoxy, according to the manufacturer, up to a 1/4 inch. I can tell you I've poured it up to about 0.34 of an inch, and it's done absolutely fine. I love eye candy's gel pigments. A very little bit goes a long, long way, and it's just such a pure color. This is going to be our white, of course. We're going to pour it in the saw blade and the lines. Off camera, I forgot to go ahead and carve that tool path for my green. That's going to be my backdrop for my 2x4 part of this. That's going to be in black. So here, basically, we're going to pour the white. I use and order these off of Amazon. They're just basically like 30 ml syringes. They work great. I mean, for some of this, I could have actually just went ahead and poured out of the smaller bucket there, but I've got enough time to work with this that I don't really have to rush. But I do like to use the syringe, especially on these letters. Now, as far as how to fill these, with this particular application, it doesn't really matter, because once I'm done, I'm actually going to go back and put this on the CNC, and I'm going to run a flattening pass on it, so I can really overfill if I want to. But I try not to overfill a whole lot, just so it's less mess to deal with. But so I'm just going to do these here, and I always mix up a lot more epoxy than I need, but that's okay. The reason I didn't also seal the wood here, typically, if you've seen some of my other videos, I usually always seal my wood before I do this, is because, again, I'm going to run that finishing pass and flattening pass, so I really don't have to worry about on this. With this tabletop epoxy, typically one time with the torch, and you get rid of all the bubbles. Maybe a second time if you need to, but it's usually not necessary. Mixed up the green in the same way, and I apologize if I didn't say anything. The tabletop epoxy is a 1-to-1 ratio, so pretty easy to mix. Went back, popped the bubbles on that one too. So came back the next day, everything's dry, so we're going to go ahead and carve in our 2x4 part into the epoxy. And again, this makes a huge mess. I'm sacrificing my shop to all of you. You're welcome. Anyway, so you can see me sticking the shop vac in there occasionally, try to get it cleaned up so you can kind of see what it's doing. But we're just going in and carving the 2x4. This one doesn't require any other clearance passes or anything. This is just a straight V-carve into the green colored epoxy, which is part of the logo. We're going to go back in and we're going to fill that in with black. We're going to mix the black the same way. It's going to be also using eye candy pigments. It's going to be their gel pigment on this. The gel pigments are great for these solid colors. You don't get the effects you do with the other powdered pigments, which are really cool sometimes. But in this, we really didn't need that. We needed the solid color. And then we're going to carve the additional little black lines in the saw blade. Some of the lines were used with the walnut, but that was by design. I wanted to do it that way. And again, going to mix up a smaller batch here of this, but this is eye candies. I can't ever say that word. It's their black anyway. So Again, going back with the super clear tabletop epoxy. I also order these small little cups on Amazon. I'll leave a link to them as well. They always work pretty good. The sponsor of today's video is High Tech Ad Specialties. These folks are great. They are here in Rome, Georgia, and have been in business for over 20 years. They are the premier source for all of your promotional products and offer a wide range of classic promotional items such as hats, shirts, hoodies, awards, business cards, pins, koozies, and so much more. Navigate over to their website here at hightechadspecialties.com. You can explore custom printing ideas, several different promotional items, just a ton of stuff that is available. They also offer embroidering, digital printing, which you can see on my shirts here at STL Woodworking, and sublimation, screen printing, engraving, as well as logo creation from one of their amazing designers. So if you have a need for any of these products, or if you have an upcoming event like a wedding, a family reunion, some kind of a business event, they can facilitate everything you need. If you want to check them out, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Feel free to give them a call and get you a quote, and come back and visit their website at any time. All right, back to the video. And you can see me leaning over here looking all funny and stuff, but basically just making sure I hit my lines good. There's a little tolerance, of course, but I try to get as close as possible with the mixture. So you will hear a lot of times a certain time amount you're supposed to mix your epoxy. Here's what I can tell you from experience. It's not necessarily the amount of time. Yes, you do need to give it time, but it's more in how well you mix it. You can still mix it for 3 to 5 minutes and not do a great job of mixing and still have issues. Most of the issues that I see on the groups that I'm on and the questions that I get are usually mixing issues whenever you have epoxy that's not cured, especially when you're talking about the deeper pour epoxies as well. Make sure you mix thoroughly. I also pour all of my mix into a last container that's going to be used for drawing this up and pouring out of, because you don't want any of that unmixed epoxy to get in there. Using a 1-inch surfacing bit here, just making one single pass. I think I ran this pass at 0.6 something inches to get the final product here. It works great. Throwing in a little 1/8 inch round over. Matt will appreciate this because he loves that 1/8 inch round over bit. He uses it a lot on his projects. So we're going to go ahead and sand this down. Basically, I'm only sanding this down after that bit. That bit does a great job. I'm sanding this down to 150 grit. It's going to be fine. Off camera, I'm going to water pop this and sand it again, and I'm going to sand it at 180. And that's going to be my final sand. The front of it's going to be a flood coat of epoxy. So you don't have to do this. You can absolutely sand at the end, but I actually am trying to be lazy here. I don't want to sand, and plus it tears up sandpaper pretty quick. So I like to put some epoxy tape or something on the back right up to the edge of the corner, so that way once the epoxy runs over the edge and drips, I can actually pull those drips off in a strip. As a rule of thumb, you want somewhere around, for a flood coat, around 3 ounces per square foot. I did just a little bit more than that here, which is fine. Definitely invest in some gloves. You can use the little trowels or the trowels or whatever and spread it out. I've got a little spreader right there from Woodcraft. I actually wind up not even using it because most of the time when I do these, I use a glove and just use my hand anyway. One thing I do try to do is I try to pull some of the epoxy out and rub it on the edges. It actually makes the flow over the edge of your project a lot smoother. Kind of breaks the surface tension and allows it to flow over. So that's what I do here in the beginning. And you can just take some of the epoxy from the buckets you're pouring. You can literally just take it from the top like I do a little bit here. And once I get that kind of spread across, I just really take my hand and just kind of spread it out. This epoxy is great. It's self-leveling, so once you get all this spread out, it's going to self-level itself anyway. Since I did not seal the wood with anything, I'm going to hit this several times with the torch just to make sure I don't have any bubbles that wind up forming from air inside in the grain of the wood. So it wound up being great. I think I wound up hitting it three times with the torch, probably about 10-12 minutes apart. Again, this is tabletop, so it's not going to take it long to start setting up. And here's kind of what I was talking about. When I get done without all the sanding, I can just literally pull the tape off, and the little drips come with it. It's great. You do have to do some sanding to try to get that rest of that off there, but it really doesn't take that much, and it's a pretty quick process. Once I get done sanding, I like to blow everything off with the air gun, and then I use denatured alcohol to make sure I wipe up everything. I'm going to wind up putting some Rubio Monocoat. I love Rubio Monocoat, especially on walnut. It is just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to seal the back with Rubio Monocoat here. And again, I use these syringes because Rubio is going to be a 3-to-1 mixture, and a little bit goes a long way if you've never really used Rubio. So basically, I'm just going to draw 6 mLs up of the main here, and then I'll put a couple mLs of the hardener. These syringes, again, you can order them off Amazon. They work great for applications like this. So I'm going to mix it on, spread it around. I'm going to rub it in with a little mesh cloth here. Wait about 15 minutes or so. I'm going to wipe off the excess, and I'm just going to let it cure. Great product. I love Rubio. I'm not going to do anything to the back. I'm going to let Matt decide how he wants to hang it. He's a woodworker. If he wants to cut a T-slot into the or something, he can. So there you go. Okay, well, there you go. I hope this helped you out if you were looking into this in any way. I'll leave links in the description to some of the tools and stuff that I use. Some will be affiliate links, some will not. Had a couple of people had asked me before about my shirts that I get. My Woodworking is Important Nerd shirt. Anyway, so those I get at Woodcraft here down the road in Chattanooga Woodcraft. I'll leave a link in the description. Their shirts are available for purchase. I think you can just call them up and order them. I'm sure they'll ship to wherever. But anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.